The school beauty's carefully prepared trap was only meant to get me expelled. She disguised a cup of clear water as sulfuric acid, publicly performing as if harmed by me. I had long known about her plan and secretly switched the props backstage. The harder she performed, the more intense the excitement grew within me. As the liquid splashed onto her face, she caught a whiff of an unexpectedly pungent odor. She desperately tried to cry for help, but her vocal cords were instantly scorched. Amidst the screams of the entire crowd, I watched this accident with deep satisfaction. This is the fate deserved by those who dare to try and harm me. The spotlight in the auditorium was blindingly hot, the air thick with the mingled scent of dust and cheap perfume. This was a university's annual scholarship awards ceremony, a battlefield of prestige and recognition reserved for the top students. I am Suwon, the prodigy of the chemistry department and one of the stars of the evening. The other star was Lin Miao, the campus belle from the performing arts department. At this moment, she is holding a cup of props, walking toward me step by step, wearing a rehearsed, pitiful smile on her face. I know what's in that cup. It should have been filled with water, meant to stage an annual drama where she is disfigured by my jealous acid attack. The script is simple. Dissatisfied with her possibly stealing my guaranteed admission spot through improper means, viciously splashed sulfuric acid at her. She would be the victim, while I would be condemned by all, expelled from school, and have my future utterly ruined. A perfect plan to completely remove me from her path forward. It's just a shame that I am not an audience member who sits idly by. I am the director who rewrites the script. Just 10 minutes ago, in the deserted backstage dressing room, I used a syringe to replace the glass of plain water she had prepared with hydrofluoric acid I obtained from a special source, with a concentration as high as 40%. Hydrofluoric acid, the acid that corrodes bones, the devil's tears. Unlike sulfuric acid, which causes intense surface burns, it rapidly penetrates the skin, corrodes bones, attacks nerves, and brings hellish, excruciating pain from the inside out. Even more wonderfully, its initial symptoms are not obvious, giving her ample time to complete her meticulously designed performance. Suwon, I know you hate me. Lin Miao's voice trembled with just the right amount of fragility, her eyes brimming with tears as if she had suffered a great injustice. She stood 3 steps away from me, a distance that allowed the hundreds of teachers and students below the stage to clearly see every expression on her face, and also ensured that any splashed liquid would land precisely on herself. I looked at her, my face wearing its usual cool detachment, the kind that keeps others at a distance. My heart, however, was a sea of excitement and boiling fervor. Come on, Miao, start your performance, but you can't treat me like this. I just wanted to stand up for myself. Her words were fragmented, filled with the helplessness and fear of someone being bullied. Whispers began to ripple through the audience, their gazes of sympathy and accusation like countless tiny needles, piercing toward me. I didn't move, nor did I speak, just watched her quietly, watched as she pushed that one-woman show to its climax. Suwon, go ahead and ruin me, and you'll be satisfied, she screamed, her wrists jerking violently, and the entire cup of liquid was flung fiercely toward her own beautiful face. Everything was unfolding according to her script. The liquid splashed out, tracing a sparkling parabola through the air. The anticipated scream arrived right on cue. But that scream quickly changed its tune. The expression on Lin Miao's face, the moment the liquid touched her skin, instantly froze from a performance of grief and indignation into genuine shock. She did not feel the expected coolness of clear water. Instead, it was a strange, skin-piercing sting, an unwarranted, intensely pungent scent of almonds mingled with the stench of decay, seeping into her nostrils. The skin on her face began to turn an eerie white at a visible pace, followed by redness, swelling, and blisters. She wanted to scream, to call for help, but her open mouth could only produce a hoarse, air-leaking whisper. Acid trickled down her jaw and into her mouth, scorching her oral cavity and vocal cords. Agony, belated yet ferocious, surged from deep within her facial bones like countless ants gnawing at flesh and blood. She finally realized that something had spiraled completely out of control. Frantically, she clawed at her own face, her nails scraping across the swollen skin, leaving streaks of blood. That face she had always taken pride in, exquisite, flawless, was rapidly rotting and dissolving. The screams from the audience erupted completely, and chaos spread like a plague. The students backed away in terror, while the teachers stood dumbfounded. Camera flashes went off frantically, capturing this horrifying and all too real scene. And I stood right at the center of this chaos, the murderer everyone believed me to be. I didn't run away, nor did I offer any explanation. I simply watched Lin Miao writhing in agony on the ground, whimpering like a wounded beast, and felt a deep satisfaction as I admired this accident that I had personally orchestrated. This is the fate that those who dare to harm me deserve. Amidst the chaos, my body trembled slightly, and my face displayed a perfectly timed expression of shock and confusion. Then, I did the first right thing. I took out my phone from my pocket, My voice trembling but my words clear as I dialed 911 and the ambulance. Hello, is this the emergency center? At the university auditorium, someone has been severely burned by chemicals. Please send an ambulance immediately. Hello, 911, I need to report a crime. At the university awards ceremony, there has been a malicious assault. My voice cut through the chaos, jolting a few panicked teachers awake from their days, prompting them to start organizing the evacuation of students and securing the scene. The wailing sirens of ambulances and police cars grew louder, drawing closer, marking an official end to this out-of-control farce. Medical personnel rushed onto the stage, using scissors to cut open Lin Miaomiao's clothes and administer emergency treatment. The police quickly cordoned off the area with caution tape. A middle-aged police officer who looked experienced walked up to me, his gaze sharp. Are you Suwon, the witness? I nodded, my face pale, as if I hadn't yet recovered from the shock. I'm Suwon. I don't know what happened, Lin Miaomiao. She just suddenly. I appropriately displayed the vulnerability and confusion that an ordinary female student should have. Did you and her just have a dispute on stage? The police officer's tone was devoid of any emotion. Yes, I didn't deny it. We had some unpleasantness before because of the recommendation spot. She came to me today and said a lot of strange things. I skillfully replaced dispute with Lin Miaomiao's one-sided provocation, then she threw the contents of the cup at herself. The police officer pressed, clearly finding it illogical. No, I immediately retorted, my voice tinged with the urgency of being wronged. Officer, look. She fell facing away from me. The liquid splashed toward her, not me. I never even had the chance. My gaze swept across the chaotic stage, finally settling on the spot where Lin Miaomiao had fallen. I laid out the crucial detail for my defense with clear, logical precision. The middle-aged policeman looked in the direction I pointed, deep in thought. I casually added another sentence. When we were preparing backstage, it was just the two of us. That cup was brought by her herself, and she held it the whole time, acting mysteriously, not letting me touch it. This sentence was like a small stone thrown into the calm lake of the policeman's heart, stirring up suspicion within him. A young policeman made a discovery in the trash can at the edge of the stage. Boss, there's an empty purified water bottle here. The middle-aged police officer walked over, put on gloves, and carefully placed the bottle into an evidence bag. He glanced at the brand of the water bottle, then looked at the liquid sample that medical personnel were handling, washed from Lin Miaomiao's face, and his frown deepened. A forensic examiner approached and whispered to him, preliminary assessment. It's not sulfuric acid. The smell and burn characteristics are more like highly concentrated hydrofluoric acid. This stuff is even more corrosive. And, the forensic examiner paused, lowering his voice even further. We've verified with the school laboratory, there have been no records of hydrofluoric acid being requested or used recently. The source of this substance is unknown. Listening to their conversation, I sneered inwardly. Of course the source was unknown. I had spent half a month's living expenses to buy it from a black market dealer who specialized in handling industrial waste, clean, without a trace. At that moment, a series of hurried footsteps approached. Meow meow, meow meow. A handsome boy, dressed in designer clothes, frantically broke through the police line and threw himself onto the stretcher. It's Luja, the campus heartthrob of the business school, the sole heir to the Lu group, and Lin Miaomiao's boyfriend. When he saw Lin Miaomiao's bloodied and battered face on the stretcher, his eyes instantly reddened. He spun around abruptly, like an enraged beast, and fixed his gaze on me. It's you, Suwon, you did this, you destroyed Miaomiao, he roared, charging toward me, his fist swinging through the air with a whoosh. Two police officers swiftly intercepted him. Sir, please calm down. Calm down. How can I calm down? My girlfriend's face was disfigured. The culprit is standing right here. Luja struggled with all his might, his eyes bloodshot, as if he wished to tear me apart with his gaze. Faced with his accusations and overwhelming fury, I felt not a trace of fear. I lifted my head, meeting his murderous glare, my eyes behind the lenses as cold as frost. I even considerately revealed a small patch of skin on my left arm, where there was a coin-sized, scabbed light brown scar. Officer, I turned to the middle-aged policeman, my voice soft but clear enough. 2 weeks ago, while helping my supervisor dispose of experimental waste, I accidentally got splashed a little, and it left this scar. I know very well how dangerous these chemicals can be. I would never, in a crowded public place, use such a foolish method to harm others. I took out a medical injury report from my bag and handed it over. This was a prop I had prepared long in advance. How could someone who understands its terror so deeply use it so casually? In psychology, this actually serves as a form of reverse proof. After finishing all this, I finally looked back at the furious Luja, speaking in a calm tone. Senior Lu, it's too early to draw conclusions now. Miao Miao is so innocent and so beautiful, so popular at school. I deliberately emphasized the word innocent. Maybe she offended someone we don't even know about. My words, like a venomous thorn, pierced precisely into Luja's heart. He froze, the fury in his eyes now mixed with shock and doubt. The police took me, along with all the relevant evidence, back to the station for a more detailed statement. Before getting into the police car, I glanced back at the still chaotic scene and at Luja, who remained caught between shock and anger. Lin Meow Meow. Luja, this is just the beginning. The lights in the police station were blindingly white, stretching my shadow long across the floor. I spent 4 hours in the interrogation room, repeating the story I had memorized down to the last detail, word for word, 3 times over. Every detail, every moment, was seamless. In the end, due to a lack of direct evidence and my flawless victim demeanor, the police could only let me leave as a key person of interest. But they required me to keep my phone on 24/7 and be ready to cooperate with the investigation at any time. When I walked out of the police station, the sky was just beginning to lighten. The early autumn morning air was slightly cool. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the scent of freedom. However, I knew that Luja's revenge would come soon. I wasn't wrong. The next morning, while I was still catching up on sleep in the dorm, the counselor's call came through. Suwon, come to my office. His tone was unprecedentedly serious. I walked into the office, and the counselor's gaze at me was filled with complex emotions. He handed me a document. The school has decided to temporarily suspend all your courses and experimental activities until the police investigation results are released. On the document, the words severe negative impact were bolded and enlarged, glaringly conspicuous. Why? I asked, already knowing the answer, my voice calm. Suwon, you know why? The counselor sighed. This matter has caused too much of a stir at the school. The board of directors is under a lot of pressure. I understand. It was Luja who made the move. His family is one of the largest owners at University A, holding absolute authority in the board of trustees. A simple notice of suspension was just the most insignificant means he used to crush me. The real storm was brewing online. I opened my phone, and the campus forum of University A was completely flooded with posts about me. Shocking scandal. Chemistry department genius jealousy-driven acid attack leaves campus. Belle Lin Meow Meow disfigured. Deep dive into the poisonous woman Suwon. A poor background. Dark-hearted academic monster. Pictures don't lie. Suwon and Lin Meow Meow's heated argument scene. Her eyes as vicious as a snake's. In the post, I was portrayed as a psychologically twisted chemistry department poisoner driven by jealousy. My personal information, family background, and even a photo of my mother selling vegetables at the market stall were all dug up and made public. In the photo, my mother was wearing a faded apron, smiling as she weighed vegetables for a customer, her wrinkled face revealing the hardships of life. The comments below were too vile to read. Just a poor wretch. No wonder they're so twisted. Her mother sells vegetables. What kind of upbringing can a child from that kind of family have? Looks like she'd bring bad luck to any husband, and wearing glasses to pretend to be an intellectual. My heart felt as if it were being squeezed by an invisible hand, throbbing with pain. They can attack me, but they cannot insult my mother. Immediately after, several of Lin Meow Meow's best friends took turns being interviewed by the campus media, one by one. They cried as if rain-soaked pear blossoms, tearfully recounting how withdrawn and gloomy I usually was, how my gaze was always icy cold, and how I coveted everything Lin Meow Meow had, including her beauty, her popularity, and her boyfriend, Luja. They painted me as a dark shadow lurking in the light. A lie repeated 1,000 times becomes the truth in people's hearts. In an instant, I became the enemy of the entire school. My phone was bombarded with countless anonymous messages and harassing calls. Go to hell, you vicious woman. Why don't you go to jail? Get out of a university. Just wait, you won't come to a good end. When I returned to my dormitory in the evening, I found the door splattered with red paint, and on it, written in white chalk, were 2 blood-red words, murderer. The looks from my roommate in the same dorm shifted from sympathy to avoidance and fear. I was isolated, driven into a desperate situation of social death. This is the power of authority. It can easily twist the truth, easily stir up public opinion, and easily nail an innocent person to the pillar of shame. I silently cleaned the paint off the door without explaining a word to anyone. I knew that explaining to this mob driven by emotion was the most foolish thing in the world. The next day, while I was organizing my professional books in the dormitory, Luja came looking for me. He no longer had the hysteria of yesterday. Instead, there was a condescending, bone-deep arrogance. 2 bodyguards followed behind him, looking at me as if I were an ant beneath their feet. Suwon, he spoke, his voice devoid of warmth. He threw a check onto the desk in front of me. Here's 500,000, take the money, get out of this city, and never show your face again. And go to the police station to confess that you acted on impulse and accidentally hurt Meow Meow. His tone was not a suggestion, it was an order, as if this 500,000 was some immense favor bestowed upon me. I looked at that check, the number 5 followed by a long string of zeros. This money might let my mother avoid working from dawn to dusk for the next 10 years, but I just glanced at it and then looked away. I picked up the check and, under his gaze, slowly tore it in half, then into quarters, into eighths. The shredded pieces fell from my fingers like snowflakes. "Is this all the tricks you have, young Master Lu?" I looked up at him with a cold sneer. Luja's face instantly turned ashen, his handsome features contorted with rage. "Suan, don't you dare push your luck." He took a step forward, an overwhelming sense of pressure washing over her. "You think you can hold up for long? Suspension is just the beginning. Believe me, I can make sure both you and your mother, who peddles at the vegetable market, won't be able to survive." He mentioned my mother. He stepped on my only bottom line. The murderous intent in my heart boiled at this moment like never before, yet the expression on my face grew increasingly calm. His anger is exactly what I wanted. The angrier he gets, the more mistakes he'll make. "I'll be waiting," I replied with just 3 words, then stopped looking at him and lowered my head to continue organizing my books. It was an extreme, dismissive attitude. Luja was choked by my reaction. He probably had never encountered someone who dared to treat him like this. He stared at me intently for a few seconds, finally squeezing out a sentence through gritted teeth. "Fine, very good, Suan, you'll regret this." After saying that, he turned and left with his people. The door slammed shut with a bang. The dormitory fell back into a deathly silence. I stopped what I was doing, my gaze deepening as I looked at the scattered pieces of the check on the floor. "Luja, the one who will regret this won't be me. I know I can't wait any longer. I need an ally capable of countering Luja's technical attacks." A name comes to mind, Guyen, a computer science prodigy. He and I represented our school together in the National College Programming Competition and won the gold medal. We were partners, but we weren't particularly close. Like me, he was someone who disliked socializing and preferred to immerse himself in his own world, but I knew he had the ability. More importantly, I could sense in him a disregard for rules and a dedication to the truth that felt similar to my own. I went to the library and found him in a corner of the computer section. He was wearing headphones, typing code while staring at the computer screen, exuding an aura that said "keep away." I sat down across from him. He looked up, saw it was me, and a flicker of surprise passed through his eyes. He took off his headphones. I didn't beat around the bush and got straight to the point. "Did you see what happened on the forum?" He nodded. "I need help." He looked at me, fell silent for a few seconds, and then said something that even surprised me. "The forum posts show signs of being manipulated by paid commenters. The IP addresses were routed through multiple jumps, but they all ultimately point to a public relations company under the Lu Group." He paused briefly before continuing. "Do you need help?" He didn't ask if I was the murderer, nor was he swayed in the slightest by the public opinion. He verified the facts in his own way and chose to believe me. In that moment, my heart, which had been tense for days, finally began to ease. In a world where everyone seemed to be against me, there was actually someone willing to stand by my side. Suppressing the surging emotions in my heart, I nodded to him. "Needed." I handed him a note with just a few words on it. "Industrial-grade hydrofluoric acid, purchase records." Guyen took the note, glanced at it, and asked no further questions. "Give me 1 day," he said. Just then, my phone rang. It was a call from the police station. "Miss Suan, please come to the police station immediately. We have new evidence." The officer's tone was much sharper than the last time. My heart sank. I know, Luja's counterattack, his killing move, is here. The air in the interrogation room felt even more stifling than the last time. It was still the same middle-aged police officer, but the look in his eyes had shifted from caution to undisguised suspicion. "Suan, we found a new surveillance video." He pushed a tablet in front of me. On the screen, a blurry black and white video began to play. The time was late at night, the day before the incident occurred. The location is the restricted area of the chemistry building, the warehouse specifically designated for storing hazardous chemicals. A person wearing a black hoodie, a mask, and a hat swiped a card to open the door and walked inside. A few minutes later, the person emerged again, this time holding what appeared to be a small bottle. Although the video is very blurry, the face is not clearly visible, but that figure, that way of walking, was 70% similar to mine. "How do you explain this surveillance footage?" The police officer's voice was cold and stern. "That's not me," I replied quickly, without a moment's hesitation. "Oh." The police officer raised an eyebrow. "Then why was the access card used to open the door yours?" He produced another piece of evidence, a transparent evidence bag containing my student ID. "This card was found in a flower bed near the chemistry building's storage room." My heart sank abruptly. What a brilliant move to cut the ground from under someone's feet, fabricating surveillance footage, then framing me with the access card. Luja's methods were indeed more ruthless than I had imagined. My student ID was lost 3 days ago. I replied calmly. I've already reported it to my advisor and had a new one issued. Really? The officer's tone was full of disbelief. Then how do you explain this? The door to the interrogation room was pushed open, and a girl walked in. It was one of Lin Miaomiao's followers, named Li Sha. I remembered her, the girl who cried the hardest in the interview, the one who said I had a vicious look in my eyes. She saw me, her eyes instinctively flinching for a moment, but she quickly straightened her back, as if to bolster her courage for her righteous act. Officer, I'm willing to testify. Her voice trembled, but the content was utterly malicious. On the day of the incident, backstage, I saw Suwon secretly pouring something into Lin Miaomiao's cup. She pointed at me, her fingers trembling, unsure whether from fear or excitement. I thought it was just a prank at the time, but I never expected her to be so vicious. Fabricated physical evidence, combined with bribed witnesses. Luja set up a flawless trap for me. The entire chain of evidence pointed perfectly at me. I could almost feel the net of conviction slowly tightening above my head. The air was so oppressive it was hard to breathe. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. The more critical the moment, the more I must not panic. I didn't rush to defend myself, nor did I confront Li Sha. I simply watched her quietly. For a full 10 seconds, I watched until her eyes began to dart away again, and fine beads of sweat formed on her forehead. Then, I spoke, instead of questioning why she had lied. I asked a seemingly unrelated question. Lisa, are you sure it was me you saw? Oh, of course. She forced herself to stay calm. All right, I nodded, my tone flat. Then let me ask you, what color was the outfit I was wearing backstage that day? Lisa froze. She clearly hadn't expected me to ask that. Her eyes began to wander, and her lips trembled a few times. It was black. Yes, exactly the black hoodie from the video, she said hurriedly, as if grasping at a lifeline. I laughed. The smile was cold. Mocking. Officer, I turned to the middle-aged policeman. You can go and retrieve the surveillance footage from the entrance to the backstage of the auditorium. That afternoon, I was wearing a white shirt. From the moment I left the dormitory until I entered the backstage, I was wearing that white t-shirt the entire time. Many people can testify to that. As for why I had a black hoodie, I paused, my gaze once again falling on Li Sha, sharp and piercing. I lent it to you, Li Sha, last Wednesday. You said it was getting cold at night and borrowed my jacket. Up until now, you still haven't returned it to me, have you? Li Sha's face instantly turned deathly pale, her lips trembled, unable to utter a single word. That so-called man in black was actually wearing my clothes, but it was her wearing them. I didn't give her any chance to catch her breath and pressed on with my questions. You also said you saw me pouring something into the cup. Then tell me, did you smell anything? The smell of hydrofluoric acid is pungent, but in an open space, it requires a certain concentration and proximity to be detected. As for water, it is odorless. So, what did you smell at the time? Was it a pungent odor, or nothing at all? This is a logical trap. If she says she smelled it, it would mean she was very close by, yet she failed to report it, making her a suspect as an accomplice. If she said she didn't smell it, that would contradict her testimony of witnessing the poisoning with her own eyes. Li Sha was completely flustered, beads of sweat the size of beans rolling down her temples. She stammered incoherently in her defense. I can't remember clearly. I was too scared at the time. Can't remember clearly. I sneered, no longer looking at her, but turning instead to the police officer whose expression had already turned grave. Officer. Fabricating a blurry surveillance video is no difficult task for the technical team of the Lu Group. However, I believe that as long as a professional technical appraisal is conducted, flaws in the frame rate and lighting processing of the video will undoubtedly be exposed. As for this eyewitness, I drawled my words, dripping with sarcasm. I suppose Luja offered her quite a few benefits, didn't he? Perhaps a promise of a job at the Lu Group after graduation. Or maybe a direct sum of money. Li Sha's body trembled violently, as if I had struck a nerve. In just a few short minutes, the situation in the interrogation room had undergone a shocking reversal. But I know, this is not enough. Merely clearing my own suspicion is not enough. I need to direct the fire to where it truly belongs. I dropped the real bombshell I had long prepared. Officer, have you found the source of the hydrofluoric acid? The middle-aged police officer's eyes sharpened. We are currently investigating, I suggest. My voice was not loud, but each word felt like a nail hammered into the hearts of everyone present. You look into Lin Miaomiao's best friend, Zhou Qing. As far as I know, her father runs a glass products processing factory, and their factory, just recently, had just purchased a batch of industrial-grade hydrofluoric acid for glass etching. Boom. I could almost hear something explode in the minds of the police and Li Sha. I had steered the investigation in a completely new direction, toward someone they had never suspected, a girl who had always presented herself as Lin Miao's caring best friend and cried the most heartbrokenly after the incident. The police officer's expression instantly became incredibly vivid. Just then, my phone vibrated gently in my pocket. It was a message from Guyen. I excused myself to go to the restroom and opened my phone in a corner. The message was brief, yet it made the curve of my lips rise higher and higher. Not only had Guyen used technical means to locate the shipping records and abnormal quantities of the hydrofluoric acid batch from Zhou Qing's father's factory, he had also recovered a text message from Zhou Qing's phone that she had repeatedly deleted but was backed up in the cloud. That was what she sent to Lin Miao. The time was 1 hour before the incident occurred. The content of the message was, "Meow meow, I've got the thing. Are you really sure you want to do this? It's too dangerous." I saved that screenshot of the text message. This was the decisive evidence. When I returned to the interrogation room, I saw Lucia standing at the end of the corridor with a lawyer who looked very sharp. When he saw me, a confident, cruel smile spread across his face. He thought he had won. He thought he would soon see me handcuffed and detained in a sorry state. Unfortunately, he won't get to see it. The middle-aged police officer strode past me, completely ignoring Lucia's outstretched hand that was trying to greet him. He issued the command into the walkie-talkie. Immediately, summon Zhou Qing. The smile on Lucia's face instantly froze. His expression shifted from confident certainty to shock, and then to disbelief. "It's just so good to watch." When Zhou Qing was taken to the police station, she looked like a quail scared out of its wits. She never expected the police to come for her. When the police showed her the shipping records from her father's factory and the recovered text message, her psychological defenses instantly crumbled. "It wasn't me. It really wasn't me." Tears and snot streamed down her face as she spilled everything. "It was Meow Meow. Lin Miao told me to take it. She said she just wanted to scare Suwan, to put on a show to force her to drop out, and that the cup would only contain water. That hydrofluoric acid. She said she was just holding it as a prop, and she'd return it to me afterward, and she definitely wouldn't open it. I don't know. I really didn't know she would replace the water with real acid and splash it on her own face. I was deceived by her too. I'm also a victim." Zhou Qing's tearful account provided a completely new version of this perplexing case, a version in which a mastermind, in an attempt to frame someone else, inadvertently harmed themselves. Upon learning of Zhou Qing's testimony, Lucia reacted with remarkable speed. He immediately directed the public relations team to shift their focus, turning the spotlight of public opinion from the feud between me and Lin Miao to the newly emerged toxic best friend, Zhou Qing. Overnight, new posts and press releases flooded the internet. Shocking reversal. The real culprit turns out to be the campus Belle's best friend. Love turned to hatred, deliberate revenge. Exposing Zhou Qing's dark history, a shadowy woman living in Lin Miao's glare, the post claimed that Zhou Qing had always harbored a secret crush on Lucia. Unable to win his affection, she grew jealous of her close friend Lin Miao. Thus, she pretended to cooperate with Lin Miao's plan to scare Suwan, but at the last moment, she secretly replaced the water in Lin Miao's cup with hydrofluoric acid she had stolen from her family's factory. She was the true, calculating murderer. In an instant, public opinion shifted once again. Zhou Qing has become the new toxic best friend, despised by everyone. Meanwhile, Lin Miao has been portrayed as the most pitiful and innocent perfect victim, simultaneously harmed by both me and Zhou Qing. Lucia's move was executed brilliantly. Not only did he successfully distance Lin Miao from her role as the mastermind, but he even used Zhou Qing's wickedness to whitewash Lin Miao's foolishness. He tried to make everyone believe that Lin Miao was just a simple, somewhat foolish girl who had been blinded by jealousy. Sitting by the window in the library, I calmly sipped an iced Americano as I watched the distorted narratives online and the overwhelming flood of curses directed at Zhou Qing. The bitter liquid slid down my throat, sharpening my mind even further. "Lucia, do you really think it ends here? You underestimate me too much. And you also underestimate the friendship between women." I took out my phone and sent a message to Guyen. "Are you ready?" He replied instantly, "Anytime." I sent an encrypted email to Guyen's mailbox. "Send this anonymously to Officer Zhang, who is in charge of the case, as well as to the most influential media outlets in our city. Remember, use the safest method possible, and leave no trace behind. Don't worry." Guyen replied with just 2 words. That email contained no complex chain of evidence, nor any lengthy text, only an audio clip, a recording of a conversation between me and Zhou Qing, captured on a voice recorder the day before the incident. That day, I found Zhou Qing practicing the piano in the school's music room. I knew it was the only place where she could be alone and truly relax. I didn't mention Lin Miao, nor did I bring up the guaranteed admission spot. I simply chatted with her as a fellow loser overshadowed by Lin Miaomiao's brilliance, someone who shared the same plight. I talked about my experimental results, which were always credited to the team by my advisor. I mentioned the competition proposal I designed, which was plagiarized by a classmate with better connections. Every word I spoke was like a key, precisely unlocking the locks in Zhou Qing's heart. Her years of pent-up resentment and dissatisfaction toward Lin Miaomiao poured out like a flood breaching a dam. In the recording, her choked, suppressed accusations could be clearly heard, tinged with tears. "She's always like this, always like this. The design draft I worked so hard on, she just changed the signature and submitted it as her own entry for the competition, and she even won an award. The senior I liked, who only talked to me a few more times, and the very next day she became his girlfriend. What does she take me for? A maid, a sidekick, some accessory she can use and discard whenever she pleases. Behind all her glamour and success, she's stepping on my flesh and blood and dignity. Why does she get to have everything, while I can only live like a shadow behind her?" At the end of the recording, Zhou Qing let out a low growl, squeezed through gritted teeth, filled with intense hatred. "Sometimes I really want to destroy that beautiful, hypocritical face of hers with my own hands." This recording was like a scalpel, precisely cutting through the facade of close best friends between Lin Miaomiao and Zhou Qing, revealing the twisted, festering, and pus-filled relationship of Pui and control beneath. But that wasn't enough. I've also attached a few screenshots of the chat history. That was the evidence Lin Miaomiao used to threaten Zhou Qing, forcing her to steal hydrofluoric acid. "Zhou Qing, you wouldn't want anyone to find out about your father's factory evading taxes, would you? Do me this favor, and we can still be good sisters. If you don't help me, I can't guarantee I won't accidentally hand these account books over to the tax bureau." Barefaced extortion, a bloody threat. The truth, at this moment, is finally fully revealed to the world. Lin Miaomiao is not at all the simple, foolish victim. She is a long-term bully who has been mentally controlling her best friend. She is a schemer who will stop at nothing to achieve her goals, resorting to blackmail and exploiting others' weaknesses. She took advantage of Zhou Qing's hatred for her and the leverage she had over Zhou Qing's father, manipulating her into bringing out that fatal bottle of acid. She orchestrated a grand scheme, attempting to ruin my future, and I, Suan, am merely the hand of God who foresaw the entire script in advance and, at the most critical moment, replaced it with a more authentic, more tragic ending. When that anonymous email was detonated, the entire court of public opinion exploded completely. Overnight, the voices that had wept for Lin Miaomiao and cursed Zhou Qing and me vanished without a trace. In their place came a tidal wave of fury and shock. Holy shit, that plot twist is insane. Lin Miaomiao is the ultimate white lotus. Thinking about it gives me chills. She's been emotionally manipulating her best friend for so long and even resorted to blackmail. What kind of monster is she? Zhou Qing is pretty pitiful too, completely controlled by someone like that. If it were me, I'd want to take her down with me as well. So Suwon was framed from start to finish. She's the one who suffered the most, almost sent away by this pair of best friends working together. The meticulously constructed public opinion fortress that Lu Zhi built to protect Lin Miaomiao crumbled instantly in the face of absolute truth. All his efforts to whitewash her became nothing but a joke. The hypocritical mask of the victim that Lin Miaomiao wore was torn to shreds by my own hands. With a single kick from me, she was sent tumbling from the clouds into the mire. This time, I could no longer get back up. After the storm passed, I resumed my classes. Walking through the campus, the gazes directed at me had shifted from the previous disdain and anger to awe, fear, and curiosity. They probably couldn't understand how I, an ordinary-looking girl from a modest background, managed to come out on top in this confrontation with power. I ignored those gazes and walked straight toward the administration building. My target was Vice Director Lee of the Academic Affairs Office, who was in charge of evaluating the guaranteed admission spots this time. Previously, all my attention had been focused on Lin Miaomiao and Lu Zhi, but now, I had the time to think about a detail I had overlooked. Why is Lin Miaomiao so certain that she can snatch the recommendation spot that should rightfully be mine? It's important to know that the evaluation criteria for this spot are extremely stringent, based entirely on academic performance and research achievements. My grades in the chemistry department have ranked first for 3 consecutive years, and I hold 2 national patents, leaving the second-place student far behind. So how can Lin Miaomiao, a student from the performing arts department, possibly compete? When I raised this question, Director Lee's reaction confirmed my suspicions. His chubby face was covered with a bureaucratic smile, but his eyes were clearly evasive. "Oh, Suwon, we all know you've been wronged this time. Look, your name has already been cleared." He poured me a cup of hot tea, speaking in a gentle tone. "As for the matter of the guaranteed admission spot, the evaluation hasn't officially started yet, so don't overthink it. As for Lin Miaomiao, well, She's quite pitiful too. Young people should know when to show mercy, don't you think so? Between the lines, he was hinting that I should quit while I'm ahead and not pursue the matter any further. Watching the high-quality Longjing tea leaves floating in his cup, everything became crystal clear in my mind. I didn't drink that cup of tea and politely tipped my leave. Leaving the office, I immediately sent a message to Guyan. Help me check on the deputy director of the Academic Affairs Office. Li Jianguo. Guyan's efficiency was astonishingly high. Half an hour later, he gave me a reply. Li Jianguo, 52 years old, his son Li Ming, 25 years old, graduated from a third-tier university with average abilities. 2 months ago, he joined a subsidiary of the Lu Group as the deputy manager of the marketing department. The position far exceeds his capabilities. The timing also matches up. Everything falls into place. That spot for direct admission to a top foreign university was, from the very beginning, a dirty deal. It was a bargaining chip used by Director Li to secure a bright future for his son. It was a stepping stone bought by the Lu family for their future daughter-in-law, meant to gild her credentials so she could marry into wealth more respectably. My appearance, my excellence, were nothing but an ill-timed accident. That's why Lin Miaomiao went so crazy, even resorting to self-harm just to remove me, this stumbling block, from her smooth and broad path. It turns out I've been fighting against an entire rotten chain of interests woven from power and money. Lin Miaomiao and Lu Zhi are merely two pawns placed openly on the board. What's truly terrifying is the invisible hand behind them. Just as I was pondering my next move, I received a call from my mother. Her voice was filled with exhaustion and panic. Wan, come home right away, something's happened. My heart tightened, and I immediately hailed a taxi to rush back home. We live in an old residential area, with the stairwells cluttered with all sorts of junk. I rushed upstairs and saw two strangers in suits standing at my doorstep, their faces cold and indifferent. I pushed the door open and saw Lu Zhi sitting on our worn-out sofa, and across from him, my mother, wiping away her tears. Seeing me return, my mother looked as if she had spotted a savior and immediately grabbed hold of me. Wan, apologize to young Master Lu, quickly, let's just let this matter go. We won't pursue it any further. Mom, what are you saying? I could hardly believe my ears. Young Master Lu here has already explained everything to me, my mother said through tears. The Lin family is no longer holding you responsible. They're willing to settle, as long as you give up that guaranteed admission spot and publicly apologize, clarifying that this was all just a misunderstanding. My mother gripped my hand with astonishing strength, her nails nearly digging into my flesh. Wan, listen to me, we're just ordinary people, we can't fight them. Don't you care about your future? Don't you want to graduate smoothly? They said if you keep making trouble, they'll make sure my vegetable stall can't stay open. Looking at my mother's face, etched with fear and humility, a wave of immense disappointment and helplessness washed over me. This is the first time I have felt disappointed in my mother, the one I've always depended on. I understand her fear, her weakness and compromises as someone from the lowest rungs of society, but I cannot accept it. I cannot accept her using the excuse of doing what's best for me to persuade me to lower my head and give up my dignity. I gently, yet with unwavering resolve, withdrew my hand from hers. I walked up to Lu Zhi. He sat with his legs crossed, a triumphant smile on his face, as if enjoying a good show of a mother and daughter turning against each other. Suan, your mother is smarter than you, he said slowly. A wise man knows when to yield. I'm giving you one last chance. I looked at him and spoke word by word. My future, I'll earn it myself, not by anyone's charity. I will clear my own name, not through anyone's compromise. And I turned my head, glancing at my mother who was still crying, my heart aching, but my tone growing even more resolute. If you dare lay a finger on my mother, Lu Zhi, I promise you will pay a price 100 times more severe than what Lin Miaomiao suffered. With that, I no longer looked at him, pulled open the door, and faced the two bodyguards outside. Get out. My voice was not loud, but it carried a tone of command. The smile on Lu Zhi's face froze. He probably didn't expect that. Even after my mother had completely given in, I could still be so resolute. He stood up, straightened his suit, and gave me a deep look. Suan, you will pay for your foolishness today. He left with his men. In the room, only my mother and I remained. You child, why are you so stubborn? My mother finally broke down in tears. You're driving the two of us to our doom. I didn't argue with her anymore. I knew that between us, there was already an insurmountable chasm. I returned to my room, closed the door, shutting out my mother's crying behind me. I leaned against the door, my body slowly sliding down. The sting of family is far colder to me than any threat from an enemy, but I have no time for sorrow. Lu Zhi's threats, Director Li's corruption, my mother's weakness, all of it is like a whip lashing at me. forcing me to move faster. To be more ruthless, I took out my phone and dialed Guyen's number. Guyen, I need you to do me a bigger favor. On the other end of the phone, Guyen's voice remained as steady as ever. Go on, I need the highest level access to a university's internal academic administration system, and all the files from Li Jiangwo's personal computer. I have proposed a plan that is bolder and even more insane. This time, my target is no longer Lin Miaomiao and Lucia. Instead, it is the entire rotten, self-serving alliance behind them. I intend to uproot them completely. Lucia's revenge came faster and more professional than I had imagined. Just the night after I had Guyen prepared to hack into the school system, my world was hit by an unprecedented digital storm. My computer suddenly blue-screened, the hard drive emitting a piercing click-click sound before completely shutting down. My phone also began to act uncontrollably, with various apps opening and closing on their own, and photos in the album being rapidly deleted. Immediately, all my social media accounts were hacked at the same time. Subsequently, these accounts began frantically posting various fabricated and unsightly information. There were chat records of me asking different men for money. There were transaction screenshots of me selling laboratory chemicals. There were even a few AI-generated, intimate photos of me. In an instant, I went from being a wronged victim to a promiscuous, morally corrupt gold digger. A new wave of online violence swept over me, 10 times more ferocious than the last. I knew she was no good. Turns out she's a prostitute. That's disgusting. And they're even trafficking dangerous goods. People like that should be locked up. AI generated. Don't be ridiculous. You apologists upstairs. Flies don't go after eggs without cracks. Reading those malicious comments and fabricated evidence, I felt the blood in my veins begin to freeze. This was no longer just simple cyberbullying, it was a professional, premeditated technological attack aimed at destroying a person's character. Just as I was at a loss for what to do, Guyen's call came through. Don't touch any of your electronic devices. Unplug the power and network cables immediately. I'm on my way. His voice, for the first time, carried a sense of urgency. 20 minutes later, Guyen appeared downstairs at my dormitory, carrying a heavy backpack. We didn't say another word, heading straight for the school's computer center. In the late-night computer room, only the hum of server fans could be heard. Guyen took out a black laptop from his bag that looked incredibly hardcore and connected it to the main power line in the room. His slender, bony fingers became a blur of motion on the keyboard. On the screen, countless lines of green code scrolled rapidly, like a war without smoke or fire. It's the erasers. Guyen's expression was grave. A very famous hacker team in the industry, specializing in taking on dirty work for big companies, handling digital footprints, manufacturing public opinion, framing others, you name it. Lucia has really gone all out this time. I stood behind him, watching the symbols and data streams on the screen that I couldn't understand at all, feeling powerless for the first time. In my field of expertise, I am the king, but in this unfamiliar digital battlefield, I am just an unarmed infant. They're not just trying to ruin your reputation, Guyen calmly analyzed while typing code. They're attempting to breach the school's servers to delete all the original evidence against you, like your actual academic ranking and back-end surveillance footage, while planting fabricated, incriminating evidence to frame you. If they succeed, even if the police get involved, all they'll find is a morally corrupt, academically fraudulent version of you. By then, you won't be able to clear your name even if you jump into the Yellow River. My palms turned cold as I listened. This isn't just about ruining my reputation, it's about fundamentally erasing the very reality of my existence. How ruthless. Can we stop them? I asked, my voice somewhat dry. They are in the shadows, we are in the light. It's difficult. Guyen shook his head, but there was not a trace of retreat in his eyes. But it's not impossible. He quickly set up multiple layers of firewalls on the computer. Then, he did something I never expected. On the firewall, he deliberately left a tiny, disguised gap that looked like a system vulnerability. What is this? I asked, puzzled. Honeypot. A cold smile curled at the corner of Guyen's lips. If we can't block it, then we'll open a door and invite them into the jar. He set up a trap, a virtual space disguised as the core database, to lure the opposing hacker team deeper. Time passed minute by minute. The air in the server room was stifling, making it hard to breathe. Suddenly, a red alert popped up on Guyen's screen. Hooked, the opponent's attack indeed surged, and through that vulnerability, a fierce battle of offense and defense officially began. Guyen's typing speed reached its peak. He had to fend off the opponent's tidal wave of attacks while simultaneously tracking down their real IP address. The other party was clearly a top-tier expert as well, incredibly cunning, with their IP address constantly hopping across the globe like an elusive ghost. It's no use, their encryption protocol is too complex. Every time we track them halfway, the trail goes cold. Fine beads of sweat broke out on Guyen's forehead. I stared at the complex data streams on the screen. Though I didn't understand the technology, my intuition as a chemist kicked in at that moment. Suddenly, I remembered a difficult problem I had encountered in a separation and purification experiment. Guyen, I began, any seemingly flawless chemical compound inevitably contains impurities or structural defects at the microscopic level, which are often the most unusual energy nodes in the reaction process. Could your data stream have similar impurities, a most unusual? Most illogical data packet. My words struck Guyen's train of thought like a bolt of lightning. His eyes lit up. Exactly, data entropy. Every encryption algorithm has its inherent information entropy characteristics, but to hide themselves, they must forge some random, useless data streams to create confusion. However, these forged data will produce subtle, discordant fluctuations in entropy compared to the real encrypted data. He immediately adjusted his tracking strategy, no longer chasing that elusive IP address, but instead began analyzing the entropy anomalies within the massive data streams. 5 minutes later, he pinpointed an extremely minute but persistently anomalous encryption protocol. Found it, Guyen exclaimed in a low voice, his hands typing out a series of complex and dizzying commands on the keyboard, like the most skilled anatomist. He followed that tiny structural flaw, peeling away the opponent's disguise layer by layer. In the end, he successfully reverse-infiltrated the opponent's server. The scales of victory tipped instantly. Not only did we successfully thwart the opponent's attack, preserving the original data in the school's servers, even more astonishingly, we discovered a massive treasure trove within the opponent's database. It contained the complete records of all the dirty work the Eraser team had handled for their major clients. Among them, a folder named Lu Group stood out prominently. Inside, it meticulously documented all the shady dealings of the Lu Group in recent years, including transaction records of commercial bribery, illegal tactics such as hostile takeovers and suppressing competitors, evidence of stock price manipulation and insider trading. There were even several records of scandals involving Luja himself, including him finding a scapegoat after a street racing accident, and all the information about him allegedly sexually assaulting a female classmate while studying abroad, which was eventually settled with money. Guyen and I exchanged a glance, both seeing immense shock in each other's eyes. We had intended to catch a small fish, but we never expected to reel in a giant whale. Guyen quickly packed up all these materials, encrypted them, and uploaded them to an absolutely secure cloud server set up abroad. After finishing all this, he let out a long sigh of relief and leaned back in his chair. He looked at me, a strange light in his eyes. Suwon, the cards you hold now are more powerful than an atomic bomb. I laughed. The exhaustion of surviving a disaster faded, replaced by a thrill of having everything under control. The atomic bomb, I said, is meant to be used at the most critical moment. I didn't detonate this atomic bomb right away. A skilled chemist understands the importance of reaction conditions best. Timing, temperature, catalyst, all are indispensable. Now, the timing is not yet right. I need a perfect catalyst to maximize the power of this explosion. Thus, I made a decision that left everyone utterly astonished. I took the initiative to contact Luja, expressing my willingness to negotiate. Through a lawyer friend, I conveyed my reconciliation intention to Luja's legal representative. Luja was clearly very satisfied with my sudden surrender, yet also somewhat surprised. He probably thought that the fierce online attack from the previous night had completely shattered my psychological defenses. He agreed to meet with an air of arrogance. The negotiation was set at an upscale cafe near his company. I went to the meeting alone. I wore a simple white dress, no makeup, with a weary and resigned look on my face. I look like a helpless young girl who has finally been defeated by reality. Luja sits across from me, elegantly stirring the coffee in his cup. His eyes filled with the condescension of a victor. Have you come to your senses? He asks, his tone disdainful. I lower my head and speak softly. My mother, her health isn't good. She can't handle any more turmoil. I attribute my weakness to a compromise for the sake of family affection. This is the reason that most convinces him and best satisfies his desire for control. Sure enough, he smiled. Wouldn't it have been better to do this earlier? You had to suffer a bit first. Go ahead. State your terms. He put on a generous and magnanimous air. I took a deep breath, raised my head, with a glimmer of humiliated tears in my eyes, and began to lay out my conditions. First, I hope the Liu family will step in to have all the posts and false information attacking me online removed, and have Lin Nomia's family publicly announce that this whole matter was just a misunderstanding. Second, I voluntarily give up this recommendation spot. Third, I hesitated. As if finding it difficult to speak, I hope the Liu family can give me a sum of money as compensation for my emotional distress during this time. These three conditions perfectly crafted the image of someone forced into a corner, greedy for petty gains. They not only satisfied his desire to clear Lin Miaomiao's name but also solidified my persona as someone from a poor background with narrow-minded ambitions. Liu was very satisfied with my pragmatism. He agreed to all my conditions on the spot. Money is not an issue. He took out an exquisite pen from his suit pocket and wrote a phone number on a sticky note. This is my assistant's number. Contact him tomorrow, and he will handle it. As for reputation, I will have Miaomiao's family issue a statement, but on one condition: you must also issue an apology, admitting that it was your jealousy toward Miao Miao and your provocative words that caused her to lose control emotionally, leading to the accident. He still wanted me to bow my head and admit fault, just to satisfy his final bit of vanity. Okay, I obediently nodded. At the end of the negotiation, I casually brought up one more thing, that, regarding the guaranteed admission spot, even though I've given it up, it still needs final confirmation from Director Li. I hope you, young Master Liu, can help handle the follow-up procedures. I skillfully passed the ball to him. Liu indeed didn't become suspicious. His only thought was to resolve this matter as quickly as possible, allowing Lin Miaomiao to completely extricate herself from this scandal. Don't worry, I'll handle Director Li. He waved his hand dismissively. The negotiation was over. Liu stood up, ready to leave. I called out to stop him. Senior Liu. I took out an exquisitely packaged gift box from my bag. This is a small token of my appreciation, though it's hardly worthy of you. Thank you for your magnanimity. I handed over the gift box with a humble posture. Liu raised an eyebrow, took it, and opened it. Inside was a Parker pen. The style is classic, the price is steep. For the daughter of a street vendor mom, it's a peace-offering gift that truly cost a fortune. His vanity was immensely gratified. At least you know what's good for you. He took the pen and walked away without looking back. I watched his receding figure, a cold smile flickering in my downcast eyes. He didn't know that fountain pen was bought with all my savings, but Guyan had meticulously modified it. Inside, a pinhole-sized, military-grade high-definition microphone and a GPS tracker had been implanted. From the moment he accepted that pen, he became a mobile, unsuspecting listening device. That evening, the GPS signal showed that Liu drove to a high-end private club in the city center called Jinsho Pavilion. At almost the same time, another signal we were monitoring, the location of Director Li's phone, also appeared in the same place. The fish had taken the bait. Guyan and I were sitting in an inconspicuous van not far from the club. The car was filled with various electronic devices, and on the screen, the real-time video and audio transmitted by the pen were displayed. The screen was black because Liu had tucked the pen into the inner pocket of his suit. However, the sound was exceptionally clear. Mr. Liu, you're here. Director Li is already waiting for you in the Orchid Pavilion preface room. A respectful voice came through. That was Liu's haughty reply. Soon, we heard the sound of the private room door being pushed open, along with Director Li's somewhat fawning small talk. Oh, young Master Liu, you've finally arrived. I've been waiting for you for quite a while. Director Li, you're too kind. After 3 rounds of drinks and 5 courses of dishes, they finally got down to business. That Suwon has been dealt with. It was Liu's voice, tinged with pride. That girl is a tough nut to crack, but her mother is her weak spot. One squeeze and she crumbles. She's already agreed to give up her spot and make a public apology. Good, that's great. Director Li's voice was filled with relief. This Suwon, her grades were just too outstanding. I was really a bit worried before. It wouldn't have been easy to handle. Now that she's withdrawing on her own, that makes things much simpler. Liu hummed softly. So, regarding the spot, let's stick to what we discussed earlier. It goes to Miao Miao. As for the rest of the process, Director Li, I'll leave it to you to handle with care. Don't worry, young Master Liu. Director Li patted his chest in assurance. I'll hold a meeting tomorrow and submit the recommendation materials. I guarantee everything will be handled flawlessly, with no room for criticism. It's just, well, about my son, Xiaoming, at the company. Don't worry. Liu cut him off. I've already spoken to HR. By next spring, the position of Deputy General Manager at the branch office will be his. Oh, thank you so much, young Master Liu. Thank you so much. Director Li's voice was filled with barely contained ecstasy. Rest assured, from now on, if there's anything at the school that needs handling, just say the word, and I, Li Jianguo, we'll make sure it's taken care of perfectly. The recording device clearly captured the dirty power for money deal between them. Their words were filled with contempt for the rules and disdain for ordinary people. Director Li even smugly added at the end, after all, what can a student like Suwon, with no background or connections, do even if she's smart and finds out? Can she really turn the world upside down? Hearing those words, I turned off the listening device. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. Yeah, I can't turn the world upside down, but I can poke a hole in the very sky you rely on for survival. The time has come to close the net. I chose not to hand over all the evidence to the police at once. Doing so would have been inefficient and could easily have been intercepted or suppressed by the Liu family's influence in the process. What I want is a full-scale explosion that cannot be controlled or extinguished. Gu Yan and I divided the work. Late at night, in our temporary war room, the glow from 2 computers illuminated our equally calm faces. Guyan was in charge of the business line. He sorted and organized all the evidence obtained from the Eraser server regarding Lu Group's commercial bribery, insider trading, and malicious competition. 1 copy was sent, through an encrypted channel, to the Lu Group's biggest commercial rival. Another equally powerful financial conglomerate, another copy, accompanied by a detailed analysis report, was anonymously sent to several of the country's top and most daring financial media outlets. As for me, I was responsible for 2 other lines of action. I filed a real name report, submitting the complete transaction recording between Director Li and Lucia, along with all the materials regarding his son's inexplicable promotion, a letter of complaint. 1 sent to the Discipline Inspection and Supervision Group of the Municipal Education Bureau. Another letter was sent directly to the provincial-level Discipline Inspection Commission. To deal with people within the system, one must use the rules of the system. After completing all of this, I opened that long-dormant Weibo account. I did not defend myself, nor did I resort to insults. Instead, I spent an entire night meticulously documenting the entire sequence of events in a tens of thousands word essay, written with the most objective and composed tone, from Lin Miaomiao's initial jealousy and scheming, to how she manipulated and threatened Zhou Qing, from how Lu Ji used his influence to suspend me from school and launch online bullying, to how he fabricated evidence and bribed witnesses in an attempt to destroy me, from Director Li's power money dealings with the Lu family to how I was ultimately forced to fight back. For every step, I have attached the most solid evidence. Screenshots of Lin Miaomiao threatening Zhou Qing in their chat records, the recording of Zhou Qing accusing her of being bullied, Lujia's Eliminator team attacked me, fabricating background data for the blackmail material, and finally, the recording of the transaction between Lujia and Director Li at the clubhouse, enough to crush everything. The chain of evidence is complete, the logic forms a closed loop, and it is irrefutable. I sent this lengthy article via an anonymous email to over a dozen influential Weibo influencers, each with millions of followers, known for reporting on trending social news. Then, I closed my laptop, lay down on the bed, and quietly waited for dawn. Dawn arrived as expected, and the storm destined to sweep everything away also began with the first ray of sunlight. 7 in the morning. The financial circle was the first to explode. Several mainstream financial media outlets simultaneously published in-depth reports on the Lu Group's alleged serious commercial crimes, accompanied by some irrefutable evidence of transfers and internal documents. 8 o'clock in the morning, University A exploded. The joint investigation team from the Discipline Inspection Commission and the Education Bureau drove straight into the principal's office. Director Li was taken away on the spot during the academic affairs meeting. 9 o'clock in the morning, the entire internet was completely set ablaze. That long article, forwarded by several major influencers, exploded on Weibo like a nuclear bomb. Hashtag shocking reversal in the case of University A's campus Belle's disfigurement. Hashtag deadly campus Belle. My perfect counterattack. Hashtag black dirt on the air of the Lu Group. Hashtag Dean of Academic Affairs at University A under investigation. Several topics, with overwhelming force, simultaneously surged into the top 10 of the trending search charts, each followed by a bright red explosive label. The complexity and drama of the incident, along with the elements of power abuse, campus bullying, and collusion between officials and businesses, completely ignited the anger of all netizens. All the previous slander and defamation against me, in the face of ironclad evidence, have become a joke. I became the goddess of revenge, crushed by power but staging a stunning comeback with my high intelligence. Meanwhile, Lin Miaomiao, Lujia, Director Li, and the Lu Group behind them were nailed to the pillar of shame, facing condemnation from all sides. The stock price of the Lu Group plummeted to the daily limit at the opening bell, leaving countless investors wailing in despair. The tax authorities and the Securities Regulatory Commission also announced one after another that they had formally launched investigations into the Lu Group. Once an invincible business empire, it now teeters on the brink of collapse. I walked across the campus, heading toward the chemistry lab. Everyone around me was discussing the matter on their phones. The notifications from news apps kept chiming one after another. An endless stream of alerts. The world is clamoring for my revenge, yet I feel an unprecedented sense of calm. I turned off my phone's notifications and pushed open the heavy door of the laboratory. The air was filled with the familiar scent of various chemical reagents. I put on my white lab coat and safety goggles, ready to begin the experiment I had neglected for half a month, as if everything outside had nothing to do with me. I just completed a complex chemical reaction that I had been planning for a long time. Every step is precise, every outcome is absolute. That's all. The Liu family's influence is even greater than I had imagined. On the third day of the storm, Lu's father, Liu Tianxiong, chairman of the Liu Group, personally stepped forward to give an exclusive interview to a media outlet. In the video, his hair was gray, his face haggard, and he choked up several times in front of the camera. He admitted to his failure in parenting and acknowledged that there were some loopholes in the company's management. He attributed everything to the impulsiveness of youth and the dereliction of duty by certain management personnel. He played the sympathy card masterfully, using a father's tears to win public compassion, sacrificing a pawn to save the king in a bid to salvage his crumbling business empire. Unfortunately, it was too late. In the face of irrefutable evidence, any public relations tactics appear feeble and powerless. His flawed performance only fueled greater resentment among netizens. After hitting a wall through public channels, Liu Tianxiong began trying to find a breakthrough through me. He obtained my phone number through various connections. On the phone, he was no longer the lofty chairman of the group. His tone even carried a hint of pleading. "Suan, I know our Liu family has wronged you. Luja and Miao Miao will receive the punishment they deserve, but the Liu group is innocent. There are still thousands of employees within the group who rely on this job to support their families. I implore you, please be merciful and issue a public statement, saying that some of the evidence was fabricated by you, or that it was just a misunderstanding. As long as you are willing, we can discuss any conditions." I listened quietly until he finished, without interrupting. Then, I only replied with one sentence. "Chairman Liu, when your son threatened my mother's livelihood, did he ever consider that she's just an ordinary person trying to support her family?" After saying that, I hung up the phone. My refusal became the final straw that broke Luja. He probably never imagined that the family background he took such pride in, and his father's far-reaching influence, would become utterly worthless in my eyes. All his pride and dignity were trampled under my feet, ground to dust. Despair can drive a person to madness. One evening, I finished my experiment and walked out of the chemistry building. The night was deep, and the campus was quiet. As I walked into a tree-lined path without streetlights, a black car suddenly swerved out from the side, screeched to a halt, and blocked my way. The car door opened, and a figure rushed out from the driver's seat. It was Luja. He looked utterly disheveled. After just a few days apart, he had lost a significant amount of weight, with sunken eyes and bloodshot veins. The once dashing campus heartthrob now looked like a demon crawling out of hell. "Suan," he roared my name, grabbing my arm with a force that felt like it would crush my bones. A strong smell of alcohol, mixed with an aura of despair, washed over me. "It's you. It's all because of you. You've ruined everything for me." He was like a madman, roughly dragging me and shoving me into the passenger seat. I struggled violently, but the disparity in strength between men and women made all my resistance futile. He locked the car doors, stepped on the gas, and the car shot out like an arrow from a bow. "Suan, aren't you so good at scheming? Aren't you so clever?" He drove frantically while screaming at me hysterically. "Then did you foresee today? Did you foresee that I would drag you down to hell with me? I want you to be buried with me." On the surface, I showed extreme panic, desperately pounding on the car window and calling for help, but from an angle he couldn't see. My other hand, in my pocket, calmly pressed 3 times in a row. It was a bracelet I wore on my wrist. On the outside, it looked just like an ordinary fitness tracker, but in reality, it was a special device modified by Guyan, with built-in emergency alert and location tracking functions. Pressing 3 times in a row will send my real-time location and the environmental recording from my phone to Guyan's phone without making any sound. I need to buy time. I forced myself to calm down and began to provoke him with words. "Buried with me, Luja. Are you worthy?" I spoke coldly, my voice dripping with disdain. You lost completely. You, your father, and that half-dead Lin Miao Miao lying in the hospital. You all lost, because from the very beginning, you misjudged the person and overestimated yourselves. Shut up, shut up." My words hit him right where it hurt the most. He was completely enraged, jerking the steering wheel sharply and turning the car onto a desolate side road. Eventually, he stopped in front of the entrance to an abandoned chemical plant. The iron gate was covered in rust, and the wall was painted with a huge skull and the word danger. He dragged me out of the car and into the vast, abandoned workshop, which was filled with the pungent smell of chemicals. Moonlight streamed through the broken holes in the roof, casting mottled shadows on the ground like ghostly faces. He didn't know, my distress signal had already been sent. Guyan and the police he had alerted were rushing here as fast as they could. All I need to do is survive until they arrive. The abandoned workshop was dead silent, with only the echoes of our footsteps reverberating through the empty space. The air was filled with a sweet yet pungent odor. I quickly recognized it as ether, a highly volatile and extremely flammable chemical. Lucia shoved me hard against a rust-stained pillar, then pulled a metal lighter from his pocket. With a click, an orange flame danced in the darkness, illuminating his face. Twisted with madness, Sue won. Let's turn into the most dazzling fireworks right here, together, how about it? He smiled, yet tears streamed down his face. A spoiled, never-been-tested adult giant baby, after losing everything, could think of the most foolish, yet most resolute way of revenge, mutual destruction. I watched the flame in his hand, my heart pounding violently in my chest, but I knew I couldn't show any fear. Fear only accelerates his madness. Go ahead and light it, I spoke calmly. My voice so steady it even surprised me. The ether concentration here has already exceeded the lower explosive limit. If you let go, we'll be blown to pieces by the shockwave in 0.01 seconds. You can't even feel the pain. You don't even have time to regret. My words were like a bucket of ice water, dousing the flames of his burning resolve. He hesitated. The determination to face death and the fear of death itself waged a fierce battle in his eyes. The instinct for survival made his hand holding the lighter tremble slightly. This was the moment. Taking advantage of his distraction, I suddenly lifted my foot and kicked a torn white bag on the ground beside me. Who knew what powder was inside? Hard toward him. The white powder instantly billowed up like a thick fog, rushing toward Lucia's face. It's lime powder. Lucia instinctively closed his eyes and waved his hand to block it. The lighter in his hand slipped from his grasp and fell into a puddle of water on the ground nearby. With a sizzling sound, the flame went out. The workshop plunged back into darkness. The crisis was temporarily averted. Without pausing, I quickly put distance between us, continuing to assault his already fragile mental defenses with words. Lucia, if you die, it's all over, but have you thought about your father? The Lu group is finished. How is he going to spend the rest of his life in prison? Have you thought about your mother? You're her only son, a parent having to bury their child. How is she going to live the rest of her life? And what about Lin Meow Meow? For her, you've thrown away yourself and your entire family. But what about her? From start to finish, all she ever loved was your money, your power. Now that you have nothing left, do you really think she'd even spare you a second glance? Every word I spoke was like a knife, striking precisely at his weakest, most vulnerable spots. His psychological defenses crumbled bit by bit under the barrage of my words. He clutched his head, crouching down in agony, a trapped beast's whimper escaping his throat. No, it's not like that, it's not. His spirit had completely shattered. At that moment, with a deafening boom, the rusted workshop door was violently forced open from the outside by a tremendous external force. Several blinding beams of flashlight instantly illuminated the entire space. Freeze, police. Fully armed SWAT officers filed in one after another, swiftly and firmly subduing Lucia, who had collapsed on the ground. Watching Lucia being handcuffed and dragged away like a stray dog, the tension that had been coiled tightly in my heart for months finally and completely eased. I walked up to him and, before the police took him away, crouched down to look into his eyes, which had lost all their light. In a voice so soft only the two of us could hear, I whispered, "No, we're even." He jerked his head up, his eyes bloodshot and filled with endless regret, and I, rising to my feet, never looked at him again. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.